Hi guys, welcome to my first state of my collection video. I've been collecting watches for around a year now, and this is my first video that I've done of my entire collection. So I thought it might be interesting to see what I've got now, and maybe we'll do another one in a year's time, see what I keep, see what I get rid of, and a little story about how the collection started. So I'd take you through the watches, basically from in order, I think, in order that I purchased them. And as I go through them, I'm sure it'll remind me of the story of them. So it's kind of in two parts, this video. I'll do it in one video, but you may see there's a bunch of watches on the far side of the table, fanned out. So they're watches I won't be keeping. I'll move on to those at the end, but they will be going. These other watches I'm showing you now are my collection now that I plan on keeping for now. Okay, so the story of my collection really goes back to not my first ever watch, but a watch I had for many, many years, which is this Seiko Chronograph. So I wore this, oh crikey, for at least 15 years. Been a fantastic watch, bought this from new, and it's been all over the world. I wore it every day, working in buildings and things like that. It's been a fantastic watch. It came on a metal bracelet, which is inside this box, which is kind of falling to bits now. I haven't broken that, it's just decided that it wants to self-destruct. Yeah, so I love this watch, and this is really how I got into watch collecting. Is the bracelet wasn't fastening properly, so I thought, you know, I could get it fixed, or I could look for another watch, because I'd had this for so long. I thought it'd be nice to have a change. So, having a look around at watches online, I came across the Invicta brand, so I'll just pop that over there, and decided, after a bit of research, on this one, which is the Invictor Speedway. Now, I purchased this from Amazon. I approximately paid £70. Beautiful watch. It's a quartz with a screw down crown, and I discovered the Invicta brand because I wanted something. My friend had a Tudor, and I liked the look of the Rolex Tudor type look. I really didn't know much about watches, and these are obviously a homage to a Rolex Daytona, and I thought it was a very smart looking watch. What I didn't realise is the white face against the silver hands is quite hard to read, so I need reading glasses to basically read. And I find this quite difficult without reading glasses to see at a glance. So I haven't worn this very much, so it's absolutely immaculate. So that got me onto the second Invicta. So I bought that one, which I wore a few times, but looking around, I found another deal on a this one here, a Pro Diver. So this is a 42mm Pro Diver, which came on a Jubilee strap, this one here, which I've taken off because it comes a little bit stretched. They're not the best straps in the world. They're okay, but they're not the best. And I've put it on this more vintage leather strap. And this is an automatic with the NH35A movement. Fantastic watch, absolutely fantastic watch. It is a little bit big, it's a 42, but it still looks pretty good on my 6.5-inch wrist. Again, screw down crown, and that's a really good everyday watch. So from that watch, which I was wearing every day, I kind of didn't want to mess it up. Plus, I just got interested in watches at that point. Started looking at eBay, as you do, started seeing vintage watches come up. And I thought to myself, oh, it'd be nice to maybe collect the odd vintage watch if I can find one cheap enough. as a little side hobby. So this was my basically everyday watch at this stage, which it was for quite some time. So I set that down. So I'm going to go through this quite quickly, otherwise it's going to be a very long video. So this comes to the first vintage watch that I purchased. It didn't actually come with this box. I bought the box separately. This Belova, I never know how to pronounce it. Belova. Now, I was interested in this make because I was watching old series of The Saint with Roger Moore, and I researched what watch he was wearing, because obviously James Bond, very famous for wearing Omega Seamasters, but The Saint, Roger Moore played in the 60s, very suave character, and I could see he was wearing a watch, but couldn't quite work out what it was. And a little bit of Googling, and he wore a couple of watches, but he was known for wearing these Belovas, and this was pretty much as near as I could find to the model he was wearing. It's not exactly the same model, but it's pretty close. And I bought this, I think I paid about £27 for this. So it's quite a good deal. I had to clean it up quite a bit, and it came with a little expandable metal strap, which, where is it? Well, I think there's bits of it there. I've put it onto this fabric strap, which bulks the watch out slightly because it's extremely slim. You see how slim that is. Beautiful little watch. Lovely movement inside. And I think I got that for a very good price. I was chasing them for quite a while. I bid on quite a few of these, but I never won one, and this one came up. It's got a little bit of an inscription of the last person who wore it underneath on the back plate. But apart from that, it's pretty good first buy, in very nice condition. And then later on, this box came up and I managed to secure that for £10, an original box, which is a nice thing to have with it. So that's my first vintage watch purchase. And of course, once you bought one, you're looking for others, aren't you? So from there, I decided I would like to perhaps get some of the more premium makes if I can get one at a decent price. So I was looking for a Longines for a long time. It seemed like a long time. I chased quite a few. And I finally came upon this one, which has got a bit of patina to the face. I think it's like a 1950s. Beautiful little watch. Working perfectly. And what did I pay for that? I think I paid £70 to £80 for that. So I'm not sure how good of a bargain that was, but when these come up, they always make pretty good money. And I've been looking ever since, and I haven't found one since that's been quite a bargain as that. So I think I did pretty well. They're fairly few and far between at that price point. So there now I've got a Belova, I've got Longines. So I'm definitely going to keep hold of those for a while. Now, what did I do next? Okay, so then, oh, that's right. So other watch brands I was looking into, I could see Tissot come up quite often. So I thought, yeah, I'd like to get myself a Tissot. And this one came up, and this was in quite a bad shape. The strap was terrible. I've put it on this new leather strap, and it was quite scratched up. The crystal was quite scratched up. So I've given this quite a bit of work polishing it up, but it's an automatic C style, and it has the same movement that is used in Omega watches. So this one's quite collectible. I'm trying to think of the number. It's the Cal 812, something like that, movement that's in the Omega Seamasters. So I paid for this, I think I paid about £27, because it was a terrible advert. It wasn't advertised very well. Rubbish photos. I don't even think it was advertised as working. It was just one of those times where the advert really wasn't doing the watch any justice or any help whatsoever. And it was on at a funny time of day. And that's the thing with eBay. Some of the best bargains I've had is when I've had a look during the day, not in the evening when everyone's looking. You know, look at a watch that's finishing at like 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Quite often you can find it's not attracting too many bids. People are too busy. So I will keep an eye on eBay at funny times of the day, see what's ending soonest. And sometimes you can grab a bargain in the last kind of hour of it coming up. Lovely watch. Really happy with that. Screw down back. Looks great on this strap. Very pleased with that. And I think I've done quite well price-wise on that. So I'm going to keep hold of that. And it's working very nicely. I haven't had to do anything mechanical to it, which I can't really do anyway. I don't know, have a clue about watch mechanics apart from the very basic stuff. So we've got the Tiso, and then moving on from there, my friend, as I said, had a Tudor, so I was quite interested in finding a Tudor watch. And this took me a long time to acquire. And I finally got this one, a Tudor Oyster, which is a nice size case. And it's been polished up. I actually found the original listing on eBay. So what's happened, this guy, I think he buys watches and he polishes them up and services them. And then he fitted a new crystal and he put it back onto eBay. And there had been about 4 or 5 failed attempts at selling it. Because I was looking back at the sold listings. And it had gone for quite a bit of money and it had obviously fallen through. And I could see, you know, in his last comments, he's like, don't muck me around, relisted due to time wasters, that type of thing. So I thought, oh, I'm in with a chance. When I saw it come up, I thought I'm in with a chance here because a few people have been scared off this watch. And as I said, I went back further through completed listings and I actually found the original listing for this watch, but not looking in this shape. It was looking old, you know, before it had been polished up. And it didn't have the metal strap that he put on with it. He added a modern Jubilee strap, which I've taken off. And I've just purchased this leather strap. I think it's buffalo hide. I'm not too sure. I think it was advertised as buffalo hide, but I don't know. I bought this from AliExpress, but it wasn't that cheap. I paid about £10 for this. So, you know, if you got this strap to the UK, it'd be more expensive. But it's very soft. It's almost like a suede in a tan with a nice buckle, which I think suits the watch quite nicely. Let's see if we can get a bit more light on the subject here. Yeah, sorry about the light today. And that's working nicely. Very occasionally it wants to stop and then it'll work again. So, but it works very well. But I did take it out one evening and it stopped and it wouldn't start. And then I took the back off and just lightly touched the balance wheel and it started working perfectly again. So I don't think there's very much wrong with it. Maybe he didn't do a thorough service. Now there is a guy who advertises on eBay where you send your watch to him and for a basic service is £50. If it needs more parts, he charges more. And he's got some good reviews. So if it does start mucking around, I may get him to service it because this cost me about £300, this watch. I think it's probably worth a bit more. I mean, it's worth what anyone's willing to pay for it. But because of the size of the case, this is, I think it's like a 35 or 36 millimeter. So it's compared to a smaller watch of the time, you can see the size difference. So it makes it a bit more wearable for a modern person in our modern sizes. So let's put that down. I might as well tell you about this one now. Not to bang it too hard. So now I'm basically just looking for anything that's nice, Swiss movement, and I can get for a bargain. I started looking for watches that aren't working, hoping that maybe I could get them working. by getting the back off, and I found sometimes by giving them a little bit of warm up, maybe wipe a little bit of oil over the back of the jewels, warm the watch up slightly, and that's what I did with this one. I bought this, I paid I think about £3 for this one, and it's got a very nice movement, Rex Hora, beautiful little watch, came on this FixiFlex expanding bracelet, and this one started working. So I don't think it was too far gone. It just needed a little bit of a warm up and a little bit of oil that managed to get to the right place. I didn't use a lighter fuel trick on this. I just used a little bit of thin oil, smeared on, well, put a drop on the back of the jewels, and then just warmed it up, and that seems to have done the job. But of course it would benefit from a decent service, but only cost me £3, and I've given it a good clean up. With all these watches, they were in quite a poor state, to be honest with you. I'm buying things that aren't working. I'm polishing the case up by hand. I'm polishing the crystal up, usually using whitening toothpaste on a microfiber cloth. You can often get a lot of the scratches out of these acrylic glasses, which is what I've done with this. And then basically just really clean it up, because watches can get very grubby. So with this strap, using a toothbrush to get in between the links, and then you can pull the look of the watch up for no money at all. It's quite an enjoyable thing to do. So we've got that. I'm going to keep that one for the time being. So the next one, this is that kind of mystery watch that I found. I got for 99p. I put this strap on it. It didn't come with a strap. This is an automatic. And again, it didn't work. And I did the same trick, bit of oil, warmed it up, and it's working. And it's a very nice movement. I researched the movement on this, and the movement is used by some other premium watch manufacturers, and Breitling used the movement that's in this watch, the automatic movement, in some of their watches. There are videos of these watches on my channel where you will see the movement, but I'm not going to get the back off now to show you, but it's a very nice movement indeed. It's a bit strange because the front of this watch is saying 17 joules, and inside on the movement is, I think it's 23 joules or 21, I can't remember. So I think it's probably had a different dial at some stage. But interesting watch. And for 99p, that's got to be the bargain of the year. So I'm keeping hold of that for old time's sake at the moment. I may sell it on, but I'm enjoying just owning that one for now, because it just reminds me of what bargains there are out there if you're lucky enough. Again, terrible photographs, terrible advert, non-working. And quite often these watches that are non-working, they may be just overwound. So if you can release the overwind, introduce a little bit of oil, warm the watch up, sometimes they start ticking again if you're lucky. Okay, so this next one I bought, which is working sometimes and not working other times, is Dresden. Another automatic watch. It's got a nice movement on it, and I think I paid £10 for this. At this stage, I'm not really spending much money. I'm just trying to get bargains. It was another watch that wasn't working. I've pretty much done the same thing, cleaned everything up as much as I can. And I did use a bit of the lighter fuel trick on this one, and a little smear of oil, warmed it up. And it's, for the most part, it's working, but it will stop. It definitely needs a proper service. As you can see, it's working at the moment, but it will often stop. So I may pass this one back on again. But I think with a proper service, that would work really well. It's not far off. Again, got this FixoFlex strap, the old hair puller straps. Lovely strap, I like it actually. Yeah, and that's got a very large kind of jumbo size. Again, I think that's like a 36, something like that. Very wearable size for today. If you put it next to the the Tudor, they're kind of similar sizes. And that's what I was saying. You can find some of these older Tudor watches, but they're usually very small, which is fine. But if you want to wear it, well, look a little bit more modern with it, then the larger ones suit most men better. But I have to say, I've worn this a few times and I'm quite happy to wear it because I've only got 6.5 inch wrist. It doesn't look too bad, and that's, I think, a 33 millimeter. Okay, moving on. So then I saw this Seiko Cronos. What did I pay for that? I think I paid like £15. And it was working, although it stopped pretty soon after, and I had to put a new battery in it. It's got a screw down crown. It's meant to be water resistant. I love this 1980s style. I used to work at Ratner's years ago, and we sold watches very similar to this. I love them very much of the time, and I wear this a lot. This is probably the watch I wear second the most. I've got a Pagani now, which I'll show you in a minute, which has kind of replaced this, but I was wearing this every day as an everyday watch. Again, I had to give this a very good clean up, but it's got gold plating, which is held up pretty well on the case. Hardlex glass, which I've cleaned up as much as I could, but it did have a lot of scratches on it, and it still has got a lot. And I used some of that nano liquid that you can put on mobile phones. Put a little drop of that on and it levels off, and that basically makes the scratches look like they've disappeared. It's not meant for watches. I just thought I'd give it a go. You get a little bottle of this nano liquid for about £3. Nice little trick, and it gives it a bit of protection. So I'm definitely keeping that because that just reminds me when I worked in Ratner's. Love it. Okay, the next one is everyone should have one of these in their collection. So I bought this from Argos, so it is an original, because people had commented, oh, it's not an original Casio F91W. It hasn't got a, what was he said that it hasn't got? A little C or something somewhere? I can't remember. But apparently they on the newer ones, they're missing that. So yes, this is an original, and it was only, I don't know, £10.50, something like that. But it's one of those absolute classic watches that if you're a watch collector, you really should have. It does everything you want it to do. Fantastic. I mean, it's late 80s styling, really. But it's a 1991 watch, and they sold millions of these. I think it's the most sold watch ever. A few famous people have worn them. They crop up from time to time. Osama bin Laden wore them, and I think Obama wore this watch. It's not a huge watch, but it does the job. And for the money, it's disposable, isn't it? In fact, I don't like to wear it too often because I don't want to mess it up. But I did take this to Ireland recently, and I was travelling very light. And so you don't get stopped when you go through security, which can make things take longer. You can keep that on your wrist. Where my Invictas I was having to take off because they set off the kind of security alarm when you go through the metal detector. So now I've bought myself a belt that has a plastic buckle, a loop belt with a plastic buckle, and I wear this. If I've got a small rucksack and I'm travelling extremely light, you can go through. There's nothing you need to take off. You haven't got to take your belt off. You haven't got to take your watch off when you're going through security. This will generally, well, it has so far anyway, just go straight through. It doesn't set anything off, which is nice. Just makes life a little bit more convenient when you're passing through an airport. But I'm not saying it won't set all security off, but yeah, because when you've got a heavy metal watch, which the Invicta was, with the metal strap, it's going to set things off. So that just makes it a little bit easier. So I love that. Next watch So I keep seeing these 1930s tank watches come up. I think some people call them clam watches. This one came up, it wasn't working, in a terrible state. The crystal was very yellow, and it's only like a kind of little plastic square. So I popped that out, cleaned that up with, again, toothpaste, microfiber cloth, and it's come up really nicely. There's a bit of fading on the dial. I didn't do that. I didn't clean the dial, basically left it as it was. And again, it wasn't working properly. I think this was overwound. So I think I've unwound it, smeared a bit of oil over, warmed it up, and for the best part, it works. Is it going now? I did give it a little bit of a wind, yeah, but it is running fast, and sometimes it will stop. So it's not reliable. You could probably wear it out for an evening and you'd probably be okay, but it's gaining maybe 5 minutes an hour. It's running pretty fast, so it definitely needs a service. But this was at a time where during the war they made the cases out of a cheaper material because metal needed to be used to basically produce Spitfires and things like that. So the watches of this time are like a chromium, cadmium or something plated, thin kind of metal. I love the Art Deco styling. But to think how old that is and it's still running. Yeah, so I really like that, and they do seem to hold their value. But again, I paid £7 I think for this, so you can pick them up very cheap. But they can make, I don't know, £30. Perhaps if I put this back on, it might make up to that, might not. I've put this non-leather strap on, which bulks out slightly, so it looks a bit better on the wrist, not so dainty for a man's wrist. And it's got that Cartier look to it. Yes, I'm pleased with that. I like that. A lot of history there. Okay, so moving on, I was really after a Omega for a long time, and I couldn't afford one. I kept losing them. I was bidding on them, and then they would, they would go for too much money. But eventually I found this one, and it isn't working. And it was in a grotty state, and I paid £83, something like that, £83 for it. It's a quartz, and I tried to get it going. I got a battery for it. I've used acetane on the contacts. There's a little bit of green, not too much, but there's a little bit of green. So the movement looks very clean and tidy now. And I could get this sent off and repaired, but it would cost a lot of money. I've looked into it, and it can cost hundreds. So basically it's non-working. I've toyed with the idea that I possibly could put a cheap movement in there, like a little Seiko cheap movement. Well, not that I couldn't do it, but perhaps pay a jeweler who could perhaps mod it. Now, I don't know what would happen with the date, because obviously the movement in there has this date attached to it. So you'd lose the date element and you'd have like an empty window, wouldn't you? So I'm not quite sure whether to try this or not. But I thought someone, perhaps a jeweler, it wouldn't be too difficult if they could squeeze the movement in there. I mean, you wouldn't have that crown. You'd have to have a different crown, but then you'd have a movement that works, and you'd probably have a second hand, because this doesn't have a second hand. It didn't come with a second hand. I actually wore this out one night because it hasn't got a second hand. It's not so simple to see that it's working or not. So I kind of set it to the time when I left, and yeah, you forget, because you look at your mobile phone for the time anyway, half the time, and it's a beautiful looking watch. The original strap, there's a little bit of wear on the gold leaf on the strap, but the actual gold leaf, or gold plating I should say, on the watch itself is in pretty good shape. So I will keep that, because I just wanted Omega in my collection, working or not. And I don't think I did too bad for £80. Yeah, it's a pity it's not working. but I will look into maybe having it modded. Okay, so that's that one. We're getting through this now, guys. And because I got two Invictas, I was looking out for an original Invicta, because the Invicta company is owned by an American firm now, and it's based in America, and that's why you've got all the watches they do. But the original Invicta company was a Swiss manufacturer that predates Rolex, and they made some very fine watches. And this one came out, you've probably seen a video I did on it, and it wasn't working. I've cleaned it up and I got it working, but now it's not working again. Well, it kind of is working. If I give it a shake, sometimes it'll work. If I got that back off, touch the balance wheel, it will start ticking again. It needs a proper service. I basically did the lighter feel trick on this, and it worked for quite a few days, but it stopped again. So I don't think it's far off. It just needs a good clean. It's a beautiful watch with this kind of bullseye dial. And it's got a lovely movement. It is a real lovely quality watch. Leather strap, which I think could possibly be original. And it was very dry, and I've cleaned the leather strap up and I've treated it with moisturiser like you would do your face, and it's basically kind of brought it back to life. It's got a lovely softness to it, and I've cleaned that crystal up. So I'll probably keep this for now. If I can't get it working properly again, then, sorry, I keep hitting the camera, I may sell this on. I'm not quite sure. But I bought that for, what did I pay for that? £9? I can't remember. I didn't pay very much for that, so can't go too far wrong. Okay, so where are we? So we got my latest purchase. Oh, before that, I was right. Okay, I have a Skagen. So the Skagen watch, which is a Danish manufacturer. This is a titanium quartz watch. I paid about £9–10 for. It had a titanium strap, which I've still got, but the buckle got caught and it kind of buggered the strap up basically. So I've took that off and I've fitted this material one on there, which was no mean feat, because it's very difficult to get that through. The lugs are so tight to the spring bar that I had to bend the spring bars basically so I could pull that through with a pair of pliers. It's an extremely thin watch. I'm trying to get that to focus on it. Very, very thin, very slim. But I like the architectural kind of design of it. Very simple, tiny little date at the bottom. And this is the second one I've had of these. I had another one, but that was very scratched up, and I sold that for a good profit actually. And I saw this one come up and it was mint, apart from I basically mucked up the strap because I couldn't move the slider across and it got kind of caught on the edge. They're a mesh, and I made a bit of a mess of it. So I've put this on and I'm keeping it for now, but I may well sell this because it leaves a bit of a bad taste in my mouth, right? I messed up the strap, so I don't really wear it. And the last one, or the second to last one, that I bought recently is this Montine, which I paid £3 for. Bit of fun, just saw it come up. So Montine is a Swiss manufacturer, but I think at this stage they're branching out into Japanese movements, much cheaper watches. I've got a Montine over here in the pile, which is going to be sold. This one. Okay, so this one is an automatic. It was working, isn't working. I've put a new strap on it, cleaned it up. It looks lovely. Looks lovely. But I'm going to sell this on because it needs a proper service, or it needs something. There's something wrong with it. It's not working at all now. But it was for a while. So something's given up on it. It's a shame because it's a lovely looking watch. But they sold these on aeroplanes apparently. So you go on an aeroplane and they'd be flogging you these Montine watches. And they had a slogan, you know, one of our watches is sold every minute all around the world, something like that. So they did very well back in the 1970s. But this watch is, I think, approximately 2010, something like that. Paid £3, wasn't working. I've chucked a battery in it, which I had a battery pack with some batteries I got from Lidl's, and the smallest one actually fitted. It was the correct battery. I've ordered a leather strap for this. I've just stuck it on this material strap for now because it didn't have a strap, just to put it on something really. It has a basic Seiko movement. It's 24 karat gold leaf on the dial, and it has 2 real diamonds. I mean, they're tiny little chips, but they are real diamonds. So yeah, so for £3 I haven't done bad, but it's not a high quality watch by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a gold plated case, and it's working. We'll see what it looks like with the black leather strap when it arrives, and I'll probably do a quick video to show you. Then I will probably sell that one on. Not something I would usually buy. It was just a bit of fun, really. So that's that one. And it comes with the case and the Montine Diamond Collection certificate of all this. So it's all there. It's all there. But I don't think it's got any real collectible value, particularly. And then for my birthday recently, I wanted an everyday watch, so I didn't mess up my Invicta. Don't want to wear the Seiko too much because I don't want the gold to rub off it too much. So I was looking for an everyday watch that I could wear, swim in, take abroad, and that I could read easily without reading glasses. And I came across the Pagani, which is based on the Rolex Air King. I mean, it's extremely similar to the Rolex Air King. Automatic, it has the NH35A Seiko movement, a beautiful watch, 39mm, stainless steel, sapphire glass, and I purchased that from AliExpress for, what was it, £40, £41? So tax and delivery, I think the whole amount came to £50 delivered. Absolutely love it. I don't know how they do it for that money. Very nice watch indeed. Great for every day. And because the dial is based on a plane's instruments, you've got this black background and large numbers. So as soon as you see that, you see, oh yeah, it looks like a plane, like an aeroplane's instrument dial. And that was the purpose of it. And it just makes it very easy and quick to read. So that, in fact, if you're still watching this, I'm amazed. That is my collection at the moment. The only other watches I've got, which I'll quickly show you, not one by one, but I'm just going to take the camera over to them now, are the ones that don't work. I've cleaned up, I've probably put new straps on, and I can't get them working. All these ones I bought non-working, took a bit of a gamble on them. And I've certainly improved the look of them, and they will go back onto eBay. I'm just waiting for April to come round because you're only meant to sell so many a year as a side hustle, and I don't want any hassle. So I'm keeping the numbers down, but I will start putting them on in the next few months. So, where are we? So these, all the watches which some are working slightly, like that Van Time will work, give it a shake, it starts working, but it's got a crown issue. But I think the others, in fairness, aren't working. They all need services or parts. But they're certainly looking a lot better, and I'm sure someone will buy them. That was the latest one, little Oris, which I did manage to get ticking for a few seconds, but no, it stopped. I think something's gone wrong with the mainspring because there's no resistance. Yeah, that one I'm waiting for a strap for. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's the one that I bought, and they didn't show in the advert that it didn't have a crown, so I got totally caught out. It arrived and I thought, where's the crown? I knew it wasn't working, but I didn't know there wasn't a crown. So, but it only costs a few pounds, so it's not a big deal. Nice looking watch. I've got a cheap strap coming, and then I will put that back on eBay. Maybe someone can repair it. Okay guys, this video has gone on far too long. I'm sure you will agree. Perhaps I'll do one in a year's time to see what I've kept, what new watches I've got, etc, etc. You know, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry that I rambled on so long. Please like and subscribe, because it's really going to help the channel. See if I can get myself to 1,000 subscribers. I'm nearly halfway there. So that's why I'm making a bit of a push for these videos. Because I find with YouTube videos, you do them, but after a day or two, the views really drop off. You get that initial surge. So I think this is because they want you to keep producing videos. I think it's a new thing. So yeah, I'm going to endeavour to try to produce some videos. Okay, thanks for watching guys. Take care. Bye-bye.